All right, my friends. So this is a review of your workbook page 9.3. We are working with equivalent fractions and decimals. It's important to note that this is the same exact thing, all three of these, just written in a different way. So, which is actually a half. 5/10 is the same thing as a half. But here they want you to write the number in hundredths form, in a fraction and a decimal form. So half of 100 is 50. So if you were to take 5 and multiply by 10, the top, and then multiply the 10 by 10, both the top and the bottom, times 10 times 10, you would get 50 hundredths. So this is in fraction form with the tenth as a denominator, and this is the hundredth. So in the hundredth fraction form, 50 hundredths is written like this in the decimal form, 50 hundredths. And the fraction form for tenths is written at 5/10 as they gave it to you. If you were to do a decimal, you would have 5 in the tenths place. So these are pretty straightforward. You have 9/10. This is how you would write 9/10 as a decimal. But to answer the question, you needed to multiply the top and bottom by 10, and you will get 90 hundredths. Or you could have wrote it as 90 in the hundredths place, which is also, as you can see, both of these have it in the tenths place. So this is 9/10, but with the 0 added, it is 90 hundredths. Here is 2/10. 2/10, because this is a tenths place. And if you were to write it in hundredths, fraction and decimal form, you would have to multiply the top and bottom by 10, and you get 20 hundredths. Or you could just write it with a 2 in the tenths place and add your 0. And now you have 20 hundredths. That is 8/10 as number 4. 8/10 in fraction form looks like that. In decimal form, moving it to a hundredths place, you leave it right there and you just move, as you don't move, you put a 0 there to hold the place as the hundredths. So you read this as 80 hundredths. Fraction form, 80 hundredths. And you can see, if you were just to drop the 0, you would end up back in the tenths form. Write the number as tenths in fraction form and decimal form. So now they're giving you the hundredths, and they want you to reduce it till you get the tenths. So 40 hundredths would look like this in decimal form. And you can already see where the tenths place is. 40 hundredths is the same thing as 4/10, which is also the same thing as 4/10. This is 10 hundredths. You can drop a 0. That's the easiest way to do it, and you will get that for that form, 10 hundredths. Or you could drop that and you would get 1/10. It's still the same answer. In fraction form, you have 10 hundredths here, or you have 1/10. These are all equivalent to each other. 60 hundredths is the same thing as 60 hundredths, which is the same thing as 6/10, which is the same thing as 6/10. And if you were just to add a 0 to hold that spot, you would see you would end up back in the same place you started. I wanted to also point out that this would be like 4 dimes. This is still like 4 dimes. This is still like 4 dimes. Here, if you wanted to think of it as 1 dime, there's your 1 dime, there's your 1 dime. It also looks the same here and there, 10 cents out of 100 cents or 1 out of 10. It is the same thing. Billy walks 6/10 of a mile to school each day. Write 6/10 as hundredth in fraction form and decimal. So 6/10 would look like this in decimal form. 6 in the tenths. but they want it as hundredths. So hundredths, it would look like this, 60 hundredths, or 6 tenths is 60 hundredths, the same thing. Here is the answer they are looking for. 4 states have names that begin with the letter A. 4. This represents 8 hundredths of the states. Write 8 hundredths as a fraction. There you go, 8 hundredths. There is a 0 in the tenths place here, so you can't write this in tenths form. It's not, you just can't do that. Here you have a number in the tenths form, so it was easily switchable over. You could just get rid of the 0. But here, it has an 8 in the hundredths, so there is no option for the tenths form, just the hundredths. And on the back side, the 4th grade students at Harvest School make up 3/10 of all the students at the school. Which fraction is equivalent to 3/10? Well, 3/10 is equivalent to 3/10. It is spoken the way it's written. Kyle and his brother have a marble set. Of the marbles, 12 are blue. This represents, well, that's half. 50 is half of 100, 50 hundredths of the marble. Which decimal is equivalent to 50 hundredths? 50 hundredths is the same thing as 5/10. It's the same thing as a half. 50 is a whole. That's a whole number. This is half of a whole, so that's definitely not it. 5, nope. You're looking for 50 cents is basically what you're looking for, 5 dimes. And that would be this one right here, and definitely not 5,000. 5,000 is a very large number. If you're talking about money, that's a lot of money. 50 hundredths is 2 quarters, or 5 dimes. Jesse won his race by 3/45 hundredths. So this is your whole. You need to have a whole. Make sure you have a whole and make sure it is a 3. And 45 hundredths. Second, what is the number written in decimal form? 3/45 hundredths. So this has no holes. This has 34 holes, and this has 345 holes. There is only 3 holes there. You can see that. This is telling you the part. This is your holes. Marge cut 16 pieces of tape for mounting pictures on poster board. Each piece of tape was 3/8 of an inch long. How much tape did Marge use? So 3/8, and she cut 16 pieces. So that is telling me you need to multiply. So when you're multiplying fractions, you go straight across. Remember, you can just drop a 1 underneath any whole number and turn it into a fraction. 16 times 3, so I need 3/16. So you can add it up, or you can multiply. So that is going to be 18. Carry the 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 48. So the answer is 48/8. Now this is a division. You can drop the 48 inside the box and put your 8 as a divisor. 8 can jump in the box and pull out 6/8. 6 times 8 is 48, so 6 inches is the correct answer there. Another way you could have done this, that she has 16 pieces that are 3/8 of an inch long. You could have just drew a picture. I like drawing a picture. It helps. It works every time. So you need 16 3/8. So you could 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Draw 16 pieces, and each one of these is 3. And you could have skipped count by 3. 3, 6, 9, 12. And you could have kept going. You would have got to 48, and then divide by 8. And number 5. Of Katie's pattern blocks, 9/12 are triangles. What is 9/12 in simplest form? That means you can take it out and reduce it down. So 9/12, if you were to reduce it, I know I can divide the top and the bottom by the same factor. Well, they both have the factors of 3, because 3 times 3 is 9 and 3 times 4 is 12. So 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. And last, we have number 6. A number pattern has 75 as its first term. So the first number is 75. The rule for the pattern is subtract 6 minus 6. What is the sixth term? So this is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the final one will be my answer right here. So minus 6, 75 minus 6 is 69. 69 minus 6 is 63. 63 minus 6 would be 57. 57 minus 6 would be 51. And then the answer is going to be this one right here, which is going to be 45. There it is. And there are your answers for lesson 9.3. I wanted you to do this page. This was supposed to be done last week, but I wanted you to see how easy it is to go from tenths to hundredths. To go from tenths to 100, you just multiply by 10, the top and the bottom. And to go from hundredths to tenths, then you just divide by 10, the top and the bottom. But many of the decimals are already set up for you. So all you have to do is add a 0 to the top and the bottom when you're multiplying. All right, my friends, talk to you later.